Hi people, welcome to the Run Testers, and it's Super Trader head-to-head time. If you want to know how the New Balance SC Trainer V3 compares to the very popular but hard to find ASICS Superblast 2, you're in the right place. In this video we're about to compare the design, we'll size up the performance and generally pitch the two £200 plus Super Trainers against each other. We're going to help you choose which one suits your running best and your running needs most, and reveal which one is our favourite. So let's get into it. Start with those all-important details first, then starting with stack height, and the ASICS Superblast 2 packs 45mm in the heel, 37mm in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. The New Balance SC Trainer V3 has a bigger wedge with 40mm in the heel and 34mm in the forefoot for a lower 6mm drop. In a US men's 9.5, that's a UK 8.5 in the ASICS and a UK 9 in the New Balance. The Superblast 2 tips the scales at 254 grams or 8.9 ounces. The Trainer V3 comes at 9.9 ounces or 282 grams. On price, the Superblast 2 is £200 in the UK or $200 in the US. The SC Trainer V3 lands at £230. It's a whopping chunk pricier in the UK, but just $10 more expensive in the US at $180. So let's give you a quick shoe comparison, then starting with the midsoles, which take two different approaches here. The ASICS Superblast 2's dual foam midsole uses a combination of the EVA-based Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco, which you'll find in the Nova Blast 4. There's PIBA-based Flight Foam Turbo Plus in here too from the Metaspeed Sky, but there's no carbon plate. The SC Trainer V3 has a fuel cell midsole, a reformulated EVA PIBA blend that now carries 20% PIBA. It's the same foam that you'll find in the New Balance Rebel V4. There is a carbon plate here which is now forked to reduce weight and increase the flexibility for a more natural feel underfoot. There's also a New Balance Energy Arc, a trench down the middle of the midsole, which is designed to allow that carbon plate to flatten on the landings and then give more spring back on toe off. Now up top, both shoes have engineered mesh uppers with good structure. You get generously padded heel collars. This is one area they don't aim to save weight. The New Balance heel collars have a more pronounced roll top. The internal heel counters offer about the same flex in the shoes. Both tongues are gusseted and medium padded. The ASICS tongue wraps a bit better off across the top of the foot. If you flip them over, and the New Balance has more outsole rubber coverage. The Superblast 2 is more strategic and has upgraded from the AHA Plus to ASICS grip rubber, the stuff that you'll find on ASICS trail shoes. But the grip on both is good for the needs of faster daily shoes. The other big difference here is that Energy Arc groove down the middle of the New Balance. That is a stone catcher. ASICS got rid of its version of that.
So it comes to fit of these two shoes. I've got my normal size, which is a UK 9 in both shoes, but that's a different US size of these brands. With New Balance, it's a 9.5 and it's a 10 with the ASICS. So I say that both shoes fit me well. The ASICS is a little roomier, as you might expect from that US sizing, but it's the same size I have across these brands' ranges, and it fits me well. So I would stick to your normal size in general. New Balance can be a bit fiddly on sizes. Sometimes they just make a shoe that's way too small for some reason, and their heel designs have been a bit lacking on some shoes this year, but I had no problems at all with the SC Trainer V3. Found it really comfortable all round, a good amount of room, yeah, perfect fit. And the Superblast 2 the same, yeah, really good fit in my normal size, so I would stick to that with both shoes.
So a quick word on fit then, and I ran half a size up in the New Balance SC Trainer V3. That was based on the recommendation from New Balance themselves. Some people have found that this shoe can come up a bit short, and so you might get a bit of bashing in the toe box if you go true to size. So I went half a size up, and what that's given me, as you can see, is a thumb's width, which is plenty of room there. It does create a kind of roomy, airy fit generally around the rest of the shoe, which I quite like. There's lots of wiggle room in the toe box. It doesn't feel too snug across the toe knuckles. I did have to kind of pay attention to getting the lace lock down just to ensure that I didn't get heel slipping. I had a bit of that initially, and then once I tweaked them, that was fine. If I'm being honest, I would really like to go maybe quarter of a size up rather than half a size up, to have a little bit more of a snug feel, particularly for those faster paces, a bit more of a hugging fit. But overall, I found it kind of comfortable. So I think if you want a roomy, airy fit, go half a size up. For the Superblast 2, I went true to size in the UK 8.5. Again, I think you've got a nice amount of room towards the end of the toe box. These hold without feeling tight. I really like this kind of fit where you've got plenty of wiggle room. There's hold on the toe knuckles, but it doesn't feel too tight and too cramped. A bit like the Hokamak X2 could be too cramped for me. This has a nice fit. I think the laces here do really well. I get really good lockdown across the midfoot. The padded tongue, which is just padded in the right places, but wraps across the foot, adds to the fit. And the no lace pinch there, I just think it holds everything really nicely. Back into the heel collars, I had sort of kind of plenty of security back there, no problems at all. And in the Superblast 2, I recommend going true to size. This was my first outing in both of these shoes. The first gen of the Superblast passed me by, and I didn't get to sample either of the V1 or the V2 in the New Balance trainer. In testing, I've put in lots of miles in both at my usual mix of paces, distances and time on feet. I've done slower 10Ks, longer cruising runs with faster interval segments, and I've done steady tempo runs. I've run further in the Superblast 2. I actually marathon tested this at what would be an easy marathon pace to me. I tend to run somewhere around the 3-hour mark, but for that test I rocked it back to a cruising 4-hour marathon. There is a video up on the channel if you want to see how I got on with that. Go check it out. Now, I really like both of these shoes, and that has surprised me a little as someone who tends to veer towards smaller, more agile shoes generally. But for bigger shoes, I think there's a really nice balance to both of them. Softness but not too much, bounce but control, good reliable platforms to run off, and generally kind of smooth, easy flow, particularly when you hit those kind of faster than easy long run cruising paces. I find they really excel in that middle band of my pace range, the kind of pace that I can hold for days and slightly faster. They can do speed as well, but generally speaking, I'd still choose a more agile shoe for the very fastest sessions. If I had to sum up each, I'd say the New Balance SE Trainer V3 is an accomplished daily trainer with a decent level of cushioning. It's not too soft. There's plenty of controlled energy for eating up miles on longer runs. There's lots of versatility here too, and it'd be a good weapon in anyone's marathon training lineup. The ASICS Superblast 2 also offers excellent all-round versatility, and the main word I keep using to sum up this shoe is consistency. During the marathon test, I moved at a cruising pace for 4 hours, and the ride was consistent throughout of that. Great cushioning, a reliable platform, smooth transitions, energy if you want it and get up on the mid to forefoot, road eating comfort if you drop back a bit heavier on your heels. It is the bigger shoe on the foot, and the New Balance has a little more agility despite the New Balance being slightly heavier. That some may prefer the New Balance for faster runs as a result, but what I really love about both these shoes is their range. They're really close to being shoes that can do everything you need in a marathon training block. In fact, for some runners, I think they probably could. I can run slow and all out in both and get a ride that for the most part feels good. The Superblast 2 is probably a little smoother at the slower end of things, but there's excellent versatility in this shoe.
These two shoes that I like a lot. Now, I've used them for a fair bit of running this year. I've done about 80 or 90k in the ASICS and about 110k in the New Balance. Superblast 2, I think, is a continuation of what made the 1 so great, just a really good, versatile shoe. And then the SC Trainer V3, I think, is a big upgrade on what we've seen from this line in the past. I didn't really like the 1 or the 2, but I have really liked running in the SC Trainer V3. I think both shoes actually do a similar job in terms of the runs they really excel at, which is those kind of longer runs, progression runs, marathon training, when you're stepping out the door for fairly long runs with usually some speed work thrown in here and there, that kind of thing. I think they both do a really good job of that, but they take different approaches. They have different styles and ride feels. You've obviously got the plate-free Superblast and then the plated SC Trainer, but yeah, I do think they excel in a similar role. Superblast we had in first test, and like I say, it's got a really nice ride to it, definitely reminiscent of the first one. You've got this really big shoe, like very long shoe, quite a boat-like feeling to it, but just creates a little bit of a rocker. That foam is quite bouncy and quite responsive, but not overly so. It's quite a stiff ride, but still comfortable as well on easy runs. It already comes together in a very versatile shoe that you can really use for a bit of everything. Like, it's also really lightweight for such a big shoe. It's a fair bit lighter than the SC Trainer V3, even though this is a bigger US size, and it just creates a very good versatile shoe. You can go hard in this, you can do short reps, you can go very easy in it as well. I think where it excels is in between that, when you're looking at those longer runs with some fast sections thrown in, progression runs. It just feels like the perfect shoe for that. And that's all true of the SC Trainer V3. It's a shoe that really arrived at the perfect time for me at the start of marathon training. Just doing a lot of miles, doing a lot of longer workouts, like 4x4K, lots of easy to steady runs, that kind of thing. And it just does all those runs really well. Like, it's got a similar feeling actually for me to the ASICS Superblast when it comes to those kind of runs, where it's it's not outlandishly soft or squishy or bouncy or repulsive. It's just the right amount of everything to just help you tick over, protect the legs well, and just feel really good. It is a smaller shoe than the Superblast though. It is a heavier shoe, but it's a smaller shoe, and as a result I think it has a slightly nimbler feel on the run for me. Like, it does feel like a shoe you can go a little bit harder at if you're going to go and do like really fast sessions, down the track at faster race paces. Like I say, I think it excels more at that kind of marathon pace, and slightly slower. You might be in for a lot of runs and workouts during marathon training, but I think it has maybe a little bit more pop to it than the Superblast when it comes to fast runs, even though it is the heavier shoe, just because Superblast, while very light, is just a really big shoe, and sometimes I do feel that takes away from the ride feel a little bit for me when it comes to going all out, just because it's a big shoe to keep turning over no matter how light it is. So yeah, I do notice that sometimes with the Superblast. I actually did a very similar run in both shoes during my testing of them, where I was doing an easy to steady 15 miles, did a similar route, did very similar paces throughout. I think I worked down from I don't know, I started at a nice relaxed pace, probably did the middle 8k of that at around 4 minutes a k pace, just under, and then did the last 8k a bit quicker, kind of 4k around 345, 350, then just under 340 per k pace. And yeah, both of them felt amazing. I finished both runs just really liking both shoes, and I think that's exactly the kind of run I really like doing in both of those shoes. Like, if I had to go now and do that run again and had to pick between them to do it, I think the Superblast is the one in my mind I'd want to do it again in more, with a lot of that being down to the fact that it hasn't got a plate, which I do think is a benefit, because I'd rather not train in a plated shoe if I'm going to achieve the same kind of performance in a shoe that doesn't have a plate, just because it's in my mind that we shouldn't use plated shoes that much, and I just rather not use them. So with the two being so similar on that kind of performance on those runs, like the Superblast is the one I lean to a bit more, but I do think that you get a little bit more pop for faster stuff from the New Balance, even though it's a heavier shoe, because it's a nimbler one. You have got the plate in there, and I do think that does help. Now, when I was running in both shoes at the same time, it does feel smaller, noticeably smaller than the Superblast, and that size of it is something that sometimes takes away a little bit of the ride for me, and it is something I notice on the run. And actually, when I run in it, it kind of goes away and I get over it. But yeah, just thinking about what shoe I'd rather be in for a really fast session, I probably would lean towards New Balance just because of that. But if I think about those long runs, progression runs, that kind of thing, I lean towards the Superblast because it hasn't got a plate and it just delivers such a really nice ride for those runs. Verdict, I think this is a really tough one because these are two shoes that really excel when it comes to performance, but I'd say for the kind of runs that I would do in these shoes, which is long runs, progression runs, longer sessions, I'd probably slightly prefer them to do than the Superblast, and that's the shoe I'd probably pick out of them as a result, because if I was looking at one of these for my rotation, like I say, those are the runs I think I'd want to use it for most, and the Superblast is slightly better at them, and I do like the fact it hasn't got a plate, because I'd rather not train in a plated shoe if I can. That said, I think if you are looking for one versatile, fast super trainer style shoe to have in your rotation, I think New Balance probably has a little bit more versatility to it. I would say probably be the one I would go for really fast runs on track, and it actually does feel really nice on easy runs as well if you don't mind using a plated shoe for those. Again, I'd rather be in the Superblast for those as well. So yeah, it's a really tough decision this. It's made easier in the UK by the ridiculously high price of the SC Trainer V3, because in that case just go for the Superblast because it's cheaper, and like I say, I think I slightly prefer it for the runs that I do most in these shoes. But then in the US, the New Balance is the cheaper shoe, so maybe it has a little bit of an edge there. I would say you can't really go too wrong with either shoe though. I do think they are fantastic shoes. Really like running in both of them. Just great cruisy marathon training shoes that can do a lot of your training really, really well. But overall, I'd probably just give it to the Superblast myself.
Verdict then, and these are both excellent all-rounders, good cruisers for tempo runs and longer, faster efforts where you're mixing up the paces, or just for cruising slightly slower than marathon pace. I like them both. If you told me I could only run in the SC Trainer V3, I'd be happy. If you told me I could only run in the Superblast 2, I'd be equally as happy. But I said this in our head-to-head between the Endorphin Speed 4 and the SC Trainer V3, and I'm going to repeat it here. If you live in the UK, it's hard to shake the fact that the SC Trainer is so damn pricey. No matter what tech is on board, £230 is a lot of money for a training shoe, even a super trainer. Now, I get that there's premium foam, carbon plate tech in this shoe, but unless you're a runner who can train and race in the New Balance SC Trainer V3, cancelling out the need for a pricey carbon shoe, I don't think you're getting more run potential for your money than you do from some cheaper alternatives. And the Superblast 2 is definitely one of those. The Endorphin Speed 4 is another. Even the Hoka Mach X2 arguably might fit that bill as well. Now, if I'm going to break down the merits of these two, the SC Trainer V3 is marginally better at the faster paces. The Superblast 2 is a bit more fluid at the slower paces. Both are really good in the middle, but if I had to choose one shoe based on the UK price, I'd go for the Superblast 2. Based on the US price, though, where the SC Trainer V3 is cheaper, I would go for the SC Trainer V3. So there you have it. That's our head-to-head between the New Balance SC Trainer V3 and the ASICS Superblast 2. Hope you found it useful. Drop us a like if you did. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we'd love it if you do us the honour of hitting that button. If you want deeper dives into these two shoes, I'm going to put the reviews of those up on the channel now. Go and get stuck into those. Otherwise, thank you very much for stopping by, and until next time, happy running, people.